Hey, thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate your time. You guys are awesome. And
hey, whoa, give me back my hand. I need that.
all right, hey folks, awesome treat. I'm joined by some old Ranger buddies. We went to war a bunch back in the day when Global War on Terrorism was just kicking off, so we're going to kind of reminisce a little bit, but we also want to be able to connect these guys with the organizations that are helping veterans to this day, and also want to talk some general stuff that could be helpful for you guys, whether you're a veteran, service member of any kind, or you know somebody that can really help them transition to the next mission and find a new kind of goal in life. So I want your wisdom on that kind of stuff. This is Matt Watters. Leroy Petry. Yeah, say hello, guys.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I went twice with John. You guys did a couple more.
You ducked out. What gives, man? Why'd you quit on us?
Tapped out.
You didn't get tapped out. You got blown up. So these guys were all falling apart.
Decided to jump in front of an RPG.
I think you're faking it, and you need to suck it up, bro.
Fake it till you make it.
And then, Petry, you got jacked up, too. We did 4 tours together.
Yep.
But you went on and did 4 more later.
Yes.
My 5th one, I think you were in Ranger School for one of those.
I also took one for the team.
Yeah, you did. And Congressional Medal of Honor, which in terms of the military world, that's like, very good. So, yeah, anyway, a real pleasure to be able to link up with old buddies as well. What do y'all remember from the first few hot years of GWAT?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I mean, our first trip together in 2002, we're talking a long time ago now. We were running hard what were our deployments? About 3 months to begin with, and we were running hard the entire time. And then same thing in 2003 when I got hurt. It was pretty much nonstop. No breaks for us. Yeah,
so what that means is we'd go out for a mission during the night. We'd get new intelligence that same night and flex in on another mission. We may run 2, 3, 4 missions. I remember one time with GWAT, we noticed in Afghanistan for one of the deployments, I slept in a different geographical place of the country every night for a full month.
A lot of traveling on the roads, a lot of building up fire bases. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Getting things started, which today I still go back every now and then, and seeing some of those old fire bases that we actually built up is see them still standing. It's pretty impressive.
And there's cities now with like Xbox players and streaming services. I remember when we just disappeared. Our family all of a sudden just didn't get calls, and
I remember there was a lot of nervousness between all of us because we didn't know what to expect. Flying into that country and still not really sure what we were looking for, doing a lot of vehicle interdictions. Yep. I remember that, and going into houses looking for weapons.
Yeah.
And the culture. We didn't really get a full brief into what exactly the culture was like and what to expect.
Yeah.
No, initially, we got the safety briefs, hey, really don't do this, really don't do that, and then go forth. And it was kind of like going out into the hinterlands looking for trouble.
Yeah, it was a bit of the Wild West. We had to figure it out, and every single time you go on a mission, we didn't know what intel was good and what wasn't. And you get all this, and there's supposed to be 2,000 enemy packs, and it ends up being some dude and his goat. And then you're like, all right, this is nothing, just blocking position. All of a sudden, you're getting some gnarly fight. And so, anyway, so you guys got jacked up. What kind of happened with you guys? Yours was.
So
I was
ours
there for yours.
Yeah, you were. But to tell all your viewers here that it was a raid to go take out a terrorist training camp out in Western Iraq, and I think it was a company plus hit. We took Chinooks and Blackhawks while 3rd Platoon went out on Humvees, I believe. Linked up in the middle of the night, did our raid, and I was the point man going into the hottest area. And I was backlit by a fire. My night vision was whited out, and there was a guy just sitting there waiting on me in a fighting position with an RPG. Let me have it, and right as he hit the trigger, I saw him, and we got rounds off at each other, but he had a bigger bullet than me. And took my leg clean off, popped me up, came crashing back down to earth. And I was told that I re-engaged until my rifle broke, because I had my rifle here. It caught most of the shrapnel coming up in my face, so my Colt kept shooting until that 30th round. It finally broke, but it got 29 rounds off at the guy.
That's because you're a stud. It's because Rangers lead the way. It's because he deserved it, but yeah.
Yeah, he did deserve it. But no, like we were talking earlier, I wasn't any big shooter, stud guy. I mean, I walked with giants type thing, you know. I mean, I was just lucky enough to be along with the ride with these guys.
Nah, man.
I still remember that night because my squad was right behind his, and I heard him scream, and then next thing I know, they're dragging him by in a Skedco, and he's going, "Damn it, that's my shifting leg." Because all I did was ride dirt bikes off duty.
Yeah. I was kicked up on high ground about 50 meters to the left. I know Barker was attached, and other than, you know, the terrible thing that happened that night to you, I remember Barker was told to burn out the high grass. Do y'all know about this?
That torso?
Yeah. So I think one of our lieutenants said, "Hey, there's bad guys hiding in all this tall grass, and so we're up on high ground ready to take them out, but they were hiding in the tall grass." So it's like, "Hey, take that stick and throw it in the tall grass," but it ended up being a human spine. So he
There's little fires burning everywhere.
took a torso and threw it in, and that's probably not funny to you. Sorry.
The next thing that happened was Petry, go find Watters' foot.
Wow.
And I had to sift around in all that mess to go look for a foot, and finally found it, carried it in a sandbag the whole night. And
That's awesome.
I heard you guys put it in an ice cream.
You got on foot patrol.
Is that true?
well,
That's it.
first sergeant gets back and he asks the doc,
Dad
"What do I do with this
jokes,
foot?"
morbid dad jokes.
And the doc tells him, "Well, just throw it in the burn pit."
Yeah.
That's what they were doing, but he's
I
like,
remember.
wanted to kill it.
Yeah. Weiser was like, "You're not throwing my team leader's foot in a fire."
Now you got in a bunch of fights throughout the years. This one that made y'all Luke Skywalkery. What kind of happened there?
We're going after a high value target. All special ops in the Afghanistan got shut down because they had a intel that a high value target was moving around, and they said whoever's closest is going to action on it. Well, it just so happened one morning I woke up, went in the TOC, and the officer that was there said, "Hey, go wake up the pilots." And we started planning, went out on Chinooks. As soon as we got off the bird, took contact, neutralized the threat, and as we're clearing that body, got intel that our radio call that one of the younger guys went into a compound. So I said, "I'm going to go provide overwatch." As they moved into this compound, they started clearing the two-story building in the corner, and an adjacent smaller building, which we called the chicken coop, just because of its size.
Sure.
Got a bump up, started moving to clear that and the rest of the courtyard, and two guys to our left, about 15, 20 feet away, started spraying AK-47s from the hip. Got shot through both my thighs. The guy behind me got shot just below his armpit. He followed me, we got behind cover, behind the chicken coop, and I prepped a grenade, threw it over, bought us a lull in fire. A third guy came running over. I said, "Watch him, watch your corner." I was watching mine and staying on the radio, letting them know what's going on. And next thing we know, we hear a blast. And the two guys next to me turned around and said, "What is going on?" I said, "They're throwing grenades. Keep your heads down. Keep watching that corner." My big fear was they were going to come around the sides, finish us off. And I'm watching my corner, watching my guys, staying on the radio. One of my checks to check on my guys, I turn around and there's a pineapple grenade sitting on the ground right next to him. Reached over and grabbed it, and as I was throwing it away, it exploded. Sat back up and grabbed my arm, and the hand was completely gone. Kind of looked at it for a second, like, why isn't this thing spraying blood everywhere like in Hollywood? And then I snapped back to reality. Oh crap, gotta take care of it. Grabbed the tourniquet, tied it off. First sergeant came running over to me and grabbed me, and he said, "Come on, we're gonna get you out of here." And I pushed his arm away, and I said, "You're not taking me anywhere till you kill those SOBs behind us that keep laying down fire on us." He saw that I was coherent and doing self-aid, and he said, "All right, we'll come back for you." And for whatever reason, there was another lull in fire. I was able to grab on another guy and run to the CCP where they were treating casualties. The medic comes running up to me and says, "We got to treat you." And I said, "I'm fine. I already got a tourniquet, help those guys." And he said, "Well, we got to look at your legs." And I knew I was shot in the left leg. I didn't know I was shot through both my legs. I looked down and my pants are just soaked in blood all the way to the boots. And so mentally I wanted to stay in the fight, but physically I knew I was running out of juice. So medevaced me from there. And next thing I went to San Antonio, recovered, and had the option to medically retire. And I decided to stay in, and little different role. Instead of going to the fight, I was taking care of the men and women that were coming back either injured, ill, and their families. So I figured if I can't go to the fight, do the next best thing, take care of the ones that are.
Well, you know, we're friends, so I'm going to poke the bear a little bit, but I'm proud to have served with you guys, and thanks for what you've done. It's a big deal. It makes me proud to be counted in your company, and thanks for everything you did. So I know that's cheesy, but I'm feeling sentimental, and I'm just proud. I'm going to say what I want. It's my video. Anyway, you've walked through the fires, and then you had to go from that into a civilian world. You had to transition. And so now I really want to transition for other folks who may have been in the action, and whether they saw really terrible stuff or not, it was just an entirely different perspective. How do you transition after going through what you went through and the hardships that went along with that?
Personally, I mean, I'm lucky I had my family behind me. Knowing what I know now, I've seen a lot of people go down that deep, dark hole of depression, intense depression, PTSD, woe is me type stuff. I had a couple things. One was my drive for my family. I knew my son was little at that point. Our daughter wasn't even born yet. I was only married for a couple years. So I knew that I had some people to provide an example for, and I couldn't let down. That was probably it more. I couldn't let them down.
That's strong.
Right. And I knew I was getting out of the military, and that I was going to have to find something to do to support my family. And at that point, I actually wanted to be a firefighter. But after my injury, I was like, I know that the competition's pretty hard to get into a fire department. You can be on a wait list for years.
Yeah.
And they don't hire all the time. And then my wife was like, then put in for law enforcement. And, my dad had been a cop. It was kind of the last thing I wanted to do. But then as I started going down that road, I ended up loving it, and I fell into it. I mean, you hear a lot of people say that, I fell into it. And in this aspect, I did. So I got lucky in that aspect that I had somebody pushing me to do good, to say, hey, no, get up off your ass, fill out job applications, stay motivated, go to the gym, go to your appointments. I had somebody in my corner that when I was slacking, I had somebody to help pick me up, and I'm not saying that we all go down that hole of, woe is me, but we all have struggled at one point or another. So when I wasn't picking myself up to do it, I had somebody pushing me. That was my big piece. That really helped me.
So I'm sure there's a lot of firemen out there that are happy that you said it was easier to be a cop than it is a fireman.
Every cop in the comments.
I don't know if I said
But
that.
then the recruiting side of it, the cops are happy because they're like, hey, yeah, come on over.
So, Petry, same question. How'd you make the transition? And Matt was talking about kind of like almost falling in that trepidatious hole of depression and inactivity. So speak to that.
It's a slippery slope that you could fall into, and Matt hit the nail on the head. Having that good support network, finding the people you can count on, that no matter if you move away from your Ranger buddies, you find that community of family and friends that you can lean on, and when you're having those hard times, because we all face adversity of some sort. But being able to reach out and reach somebody and say, hey, I'm having a hard time with whatever it may be, marriage, financial stuff, or whatever it can be, or I'm having trouble with alcohol, drugs, because that's the biggest problem that I see is a lot of folks, when they separate from the military, they feel isolated because they're not surrounded by the same camaraderie they had while they were still serving. And it's something I tell people is that you're never alone in this world, that from the day you're born, your parents take care of you, teach you how to eat, feed, clothe yourself. Your teachers educate you. Your entire life, you're surrounded by peers and leaders. And the hardest part, though, is reaching out and saying, I need help.
What would you say to the person who doesn't feel like they have a support network, or someone who knows somebody who's struggling, who's kind of isolating themselves? How do they reach out? And
Just got to have the courage to say, I need help.
Got it.
And that you'll realize one person may shut you out or may not be able to help you. We'll go to the next.
What is the best way for people to approach someone who's clearly struggling but isn't reaching out?
A lot of folks now with the age that we're in, social media. A lot of folks I see on Facebook, Instagram will get into these networks of the similar communities, and they post it all the time. I'm struggling, I just got in a divorce. And other people that are going through same situations will give them advice of what helped them cope. And it's similar to the military and any job you go into. You go to the veterans that have been through that situation and say, hey, how do I do this so I don't screw it up? How do I do this so I don't fail?
What's the best, how should a veteran speak to another veteran who's stuck in the hole?
Honestly.
Give me a script here. I'm in my thing, woe is me. You don't know what I've done, what I've seen. what's the kind of script you do to pop that shell? You speak kindly? You speak harshly?
Well, you be an active listener. Maybe not dismiss their. You may have seen more stuff than them. Don't underestimate what they've seen and how it's affected them, but also listen to them and ask them questions. Say, okay, well, explain it to me. Maybe help me understand what you've been through. Having that compassion of understanding is probably the best way that you can be an active listening ear for somebody, and not only that, but be able to get them to the resources that can help them.
Very good.
Level with them.
Tell me that. Yeah, unpack that.
I mean, from your experience, I mean, not to bring all my stuff to light, but there's those times when you're leveling with somebody, you see they're struggling, you're like, look, I've sat on that ledge. I've had that pill bottle in my hand. I've looked at that gun. I've looked at that bridge. You know, I felt the breeze on my face when I was looking over the edge. I've been right there. You know, I mean, completely level with them and say, this isn't somebody coming at you of like, oh, hey, I'm here to save you. I'm here to make you do better. It's like, I have struggled. I'm on this side of it now. I've been where you're at. Let me bring you with me.
What about for a marriage? Clearly that's going to bring a lot of stress into a marriage.
Yeah.
What are advice for both the dude and the...
Communication, counseling. I went to counseling with my wife. We went separate, we went together.
Mm-hmm.
Having that open communication, and like I said, back to that, just between anyone. Honesty with yourself and honesty with others and that communication is probably the best key to solving problems.
Swallowing your pride, you know, that thing of, I've got this.
I don't have any pride.
That's a big pill.
Right. Well,
hey, easy.
Our military time of suck it up and drive on. I've got this. I can get a handle on this. Well, a lot of times while you're thinking that, you don't. And it's taking the step back and realizing, you know, trying to get out from your own microscope and looking at it from someone else's point of view and saying, okay, hold on, wait, pump the brakes. I do need help. And like you said, going to counseling together, separately, and going to your significant other, either way, and saying, you know what, I'm struggling right now, or I was wrong, and just realizing it and taking the time to say, and being honest, right back to what Leroy said, being honest with yourself as well.
That stubborn, silent pride feels like strength. It's weakness. It's weakness masquerading as strength. It's filled with weakness. Reach out, bro. It's good. All right, so we're at SHOT Show. We're at the Fiocchi booth. We just took it over. Thanks, Fiocchi. You're my homeboys. You are here with different organizations that are helping veterans, right? What's yours, Matt?
Mission Outdoors. It's a regional nonprofit up in Washington State, and their mission statement is Hope Grows Outdoors. And it started with taking wounded vets out on the Washington Tuna Classic and salmon fishing out there in Westport.
Dude.
Yeah, and I did one of those trips. It was a lot of fun. So it took these guys that were, you know, kind of what we were talking about earlier, that were broken, suffering with some issues, and get them with like-minded individuals and doing something fun, going outside
That
fishing.
sounds fun, yeah.
And they've expanded it to active duty folks, and then they're also pushing into the first responder community as well.
Awesome.
Getting
As
them
they
out there
should.
doing fishing is their main thing, but they're also pushing into shooting, so trap shooting, archery, stuff like that.
Very good. Cool. Now, guys, I'm going to have links down below. If you know anybody that could, service members of any kind that are struggling, and maybe you want to point toward these organizations, links down below. What about you, Leroy?
Halo for Freedom Foundation. It's an organization I got involved with several years ago. I got invited to go to their outing. They do a weekend to remember, and from what I saw, the amount of help, the networking with veterans, creating those support groups. They do hog hunting out of helicopters, bow fishing off of fan boats.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole weekend of freedom. Shooting just about every gun you could think of. It's just a great weekend. They do skydiving for the guys that can't skydive or aren't certified. They do tandems.
Yeah.
And so we've had blind guys with no legs, no arms, skydive, tandem.
Yeah, don't be depressed, guys. Just go skydiving with some
yeah.
bros. It'd be fun. Get out of the hole.
Yeah.
Hang out with some bros that know how to speak your language, right?
They also get a chance to drive NASCARs. And for what it does is a lot of folks are asked, and young men and women are asked to do and see things that no human should be asked to do or see, and they have a lot of bad memories, losing friends, whatever it may be, being severely injured, burned, whatever, psychological. What it does is it creates a great memory for them, a weekend of great memories, maybe new friends, new support, but hopefully they start compounding those great memories, and those are the ones that reoccur, not only the bad ones.
They're handles to hold on to when you feel yourself sliding backwards into a pit.
And for a lot of our patriots, it gives them the opportunity to say thank you, to support the organization and say, hey, give them a great time, tell them thank you for their service.
Mission Outdoors, Halo for Freedom Warrior Foundation, also Warrior Poet Society. We are monthly sponsors and contributors toward Warrior's Heart. I'll put their links down below as well, service connected, PTSD, TBI, all that kind of stuff.
Can I add one more?
Yeah, of course.
One that's really big for me is a 1-800 number, Vets for Warriors. And it kind of expels that thing of, you don't know where I am, you don't know where I've been, because every one of the callers at that call center are veterans that have been somewhere, and it really has the resources to reach out and find the needs that people need if they're struggling or having problems, to get them connected.
More people care than you know, so there's no excuse, right? Anyway, guys, thanks so much for diving in, helping us work through some issues. I think this is going to be helpful for some folks out there, and it's just been fun to reminisce and hang out with you. It's been too long.
You're not getting my hand again.
I'm going to get that hand. Good to see you, man.
Thanks for all you're doing and continuing to get this out there and bring awareness.
Thanks for being a part of it. Train hard, train smart. We'll see you next time.